Hey everybody, this is Meleika of Evanston Live TV, and I have with us a very special guest. We have Mayor Steve Hagerty with us to bring us some updates about COVID-19. Mayor, I think it's been beautiful how Evanston has really come together. First of all, I've always said Evanston is one of the best places I have ever lived. And during this lockdown, it's it's just validated. I mean, it's just confirmed because it's just really been coming together. What else is going on in terms of COVID-19? What else can we do as a community? What are the updates?
Great, great. Well, it's great to be with you and spend a few minutes with you. I haven't seen you, just like I haven't seen lots of people in too long. To your point that you just said, when I ran for mayor and as I've been mayor, I've often said that I've spent 25 years helping communities recover after really bad things happen, and my experience has taught me that those communities that recover faster are those communities that have a really strong social fabric. And you've probably heard me say that. I say that, and I mean a fabric that there isn't a brown part of the fabric or a black part or a white part. Like, it's really integrated. And we're not perfect here in Evanston. We're a work in progress and everything else. But I've always thought there's a really strong social fabric here in the community. And I think you're seeing that right now in the response to COVID-19. And I think you'll see it in the recovery as well. I'm so proud of the community and everyone that has just stepped up when everyone is suffering in some way. Some people much more so than other people here in our community, and just to see everybody really step up is really pleasing. So some news that people don't know, right? I think our public information group here at the city is doing a great job putting information out there. I know there's still more information that people would like to have. So I did talk to our public health director this morning, and this isn't news that's widely known out there. So I thought I would share it with you, Meleika, and your audience. There's concern, right, across the country about the disparities that exist between those that are developing COVID and are really sick in the hospital, and they're disproportionate, right? We're seeing them fall greater on the Black community and possibly the brown community. Again, there's a lot of data here, more so than the white community, and that goes back to structural institutional racism and everything that's been around for a long time. And we know that people that are dying of the disease have comorbidity issues, and there's health disparities in this country as well along racial lines. And so those are folks with diabetes, heart disease, hypertension, are more susceptible to dying. So what I thought I would share with you and your viewers is just what the statistics are here in Evanston so far. I don't have them broken out by the number of confirmed cases, and the numbers are just slightly off by like 2 of our overall numbers. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. But in terms of, let's just take gender first, in terms of men versus women in the community, there have been 137 confirmed cases that have been female here in Evanston, and 114 that have been men. Interestingly, again, and we don't have a huge set of data here in Evanston, but interestingly, the fatality rate is much greater among men than it has been among women.
You think it's because women, we're quicker to go get checked out. Men tend to not want to go to.
I don't know if it's that. Again, I think there's a lot that I know there's a lot that we don't know, and there will be a lot of research done on this, and we're going to learn over the next, many years more about why that is the case or not, because it could be that. I don't know. So that's the gender breakdown. We don't have the racial breakdown, or the public health director couldn't give it to me for confirmed cases. I do have that for fatalities here in Evanston. Again, the data's fortunately low, but every death is someone's a family member, a friend. I mean, this is very personal, and as this grows, there'll be nobody that doesn't know somebody that got COVID-19. And as the deaths increase, there won't be anyone that almost doesn't know someone that died of COVID-19. So this is affecting everybody. And in terms of deaths, so we've had 8 deaths in Evanston, and the breakdown of the age of those, 5 of those individuals that passed away were over the age of 80. 2 were between 70 and 79, and 1 was between 60 and 69. Of the 8 that passed away, 5 of them were white, Caucasian, that's 62.5%. 2 were black, that's 25%, and then 1 was Asian. And so that's the breakdown. The breakdown among gender of those that passed away, 5 of those were male, and 3 were female. And so again, I think that there's a lot of data out there, but I think the overall data is showing that men are more susceptible to fatality than women are once you get to that stage and you're really in bad shape. So anyway, so I thought that was a bit of news. So let me take other questions that you have, and then I'll get into some other stuff. I've been in a bunch of different conference calls and happy to share.
Yeah, I know you are super busy. I know, so we won't keep you too long. Like I was saying, the community has really been coming together, and like I loved, Jennifer's Edibles, CNW, Marketplace. They've really been taking care of our seniors and families that, are in need, or just making their life a little easier during this time. So I feel like the food is covered because all the other restaurants started, contributing and helping out, and Evanston Community Foundation has just been phenomenal. So what about this is the question I've been getting, the landlords, in terms of, keeping a roof over everyone's head. So now people know that they can get fed, but what about home?
Yeah, right. Great question. I've gotten that question too. I know the aldermen are getting that question. So first on the food insecurity issue, I think the whole community's done a great job trying to address that. You look at the number of people that are now on unemployment, it's astronomical. Last report I was over 22 million new people that had gone on unemployment. Not surprisingly, because we've got to stay at home, order out there. We've sort of locked down our economy in many ways. And we haven't been able to keep up with the number of people that have been coming to the food pantries and others. So we've created a city food pantry and all these other things that you mentioned, and people and restaurants that are stepping up. So that's all great. Rents are coming due, right? Lots of people are worried. May 1st comes, okay, my rent's due. So there are so many actions that we can take, or things we can't do. So one of the things we can't do is like have rent control in Evanston, because some people say, well, let's put some rent control in place. By state law, we don't have the authority to do that. The governor did very quickly take action to say people can't be evicted for a period of time. Still doesn't help the issue of, okay, but I've got to pay my landlord, and what can I do there, because I'm on my job. I don't have any money to pay my landlord. My expectation, I've said this to landlords and others, is, we're all in this together. Like, you got to work with people. And I do recognize that landlords also have mortgages, many to pay. I also realize that many landlords are small landlords. There's the big companies and everything. And I think everybody says they got plenty of money. They should definitely be helping us out. But then you also have lots of retirees. You have other people that buy a parcel of land, buy a property, and then rent it out as sort of some income, during their retirement. So the idea of, saying to them, hey, people aren't going to pay you. It's, you're going to shoulder the burden. No one is going to be made whole from this disaster. All the aid that's coming out is not going to make anyone whole. What I want to see is us help those that are, most at risk, which are lower income people, particularly those that have lost their families, that have lost their jobs. So We are, if someone is in, let's just say this, Meleika, if someone's in trouble, what I want them to do is I want them to call 311 at the city. Okay. We have a general assistance office. We've been moving money around as much as we can. And those are the experts about all the different programs that are available to people. And so, 311 on your phone, ask for general assistance, say, I need some help with a rental issue that I'm having. And the city staff are working hard to try and make sure people understand the resources that are out there and connect them to them.
Okay, that's good to know, because that's been a huge, huge question. A lot of the landlords aren't really letting up, or they're, doing a little break with a processing fee. The processing fee might be $1. Like, is that really helping?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I would hope the landlords, if they are in a financial position to do so, would work with a tenant and say, I recognize what's going on. Like, nobody doesn't know what's going on. You'd have
Right.
to head completely in the sand, and that, we'll do 50% rent this month, or, we'll delay it and put you on some kind of payment plan once the economy gets restarted. But we need everybody to pitch in, and that includes those that may own properties, that they rent those properties. I would hope that they would work with their tenants. Absolutely. And again, if you're having a lot of trouble, call 311. And we have services, right, that the city subscribes to or contracts with to help renters in regular times, right? We're not even talking in COVID-19 times. So avail yourself of that, please.
Okay, and I know you were telling me yesterday that you've been on, the big calls, with all the mayors and.
I've never been on conference calls with so many people. I literally would be on conference calls. There's 1,200 people on this call. My God. But yes, I am on a lot of conference calls. The governor has a call 2 times a week with mayors and legislators, where literally he facilitates that call. And then usually Dr. Ezike, the public health director, speaks to us. And then the director of Illinois Emergency Management Agency, Alicia Tate-Nadeau, speaks to us, and once in a while some other folks will come on. And they're really informative and great. And so I really think from, really from from the governors on down, and certainly Dr. Fucci and Dr. Bricks in Washington, I've been on conference calls with them. I think the messages are pretty consistent, and people are playing off the same playbook, which is really good. I don't think that's happening at the very highest level, right? With the president himself, he sort of has a different thing, but I think the experts and the governors who are being, making decisions based on, fact-based, decision making, it's really been helpful during this, because I think it's just being pushed down. I started soon after the emergency a task force here in Evanston with leaders from all these different sectors, and we meet twice a week, share information. We usually spotlight a particular topic. Last week, mental health, which is a big concern. It was a concern of mine prior to COVID-19 in this community, but is even a more growing concern now, particularly with unemployment up, everybody living at home. Some of those aren't good situations, and you have no place to go. You can't escape to school. You can't escape to your job. So we have some folks from the mental health community. We have the faith community represented, the business community, the nonprofits, the hospitals, the senior living communities, and some of the other congregate living communities. So it's probably about 50 people that join that. We put the minutes out from that on the city website. If you haven't been to the city website, it's a great resource. Just go to cityofevanston.org/COVID-19. And there are a lot of resources there.
So, we've been watching the news, and Georgia's opening up, and that's huge controversy around that. One, I would like to know your thoughts on that. And when we do here in Evanston start to reopen, which I know it won't be, as quick as Georgia, what is that going to look like when we, is it going to be just gradual, or like what would that look like?
Yeah. I mean, I think
It ought to be a few
nobody knows
months.
exactly what the plan looks like, other than it will be a fact-based, data-driven decision. And Governor Pritzker has been very clear on that. I have been clear, I think, in my communication to the community. I've tried to be clear that, you know, I am, and the city is deferring to the governor and his team on a lot of decisions. They have the best information, the most resources, the best experts. We've got great experts and people here in the city, but really, they have the best. And we're all, I think, uh, patiently, or maybe we're becoming impatient right now, waiting for what's that decision. Because right now the stay-at-home order ends on April 30th. I think it's fair to say that we all anticipate it will get extended. It's not clear, and he is not committed to that yet, though, but it's not clear how long it would be extended. Is that to May 15th? Is it to, the end of May? Wisconsin just did theirs, I think, to May 26th, so right after that Memorial Day weekend. I do think it's good that the surrounding governors have all gotten together, just like they did on the East Coast and the West Coast, and said, hey, we're going to regionally, make decisions here again, and we're all going to use the same philosophy of fact-based decision making, which means that the decisions that we're making are driven by public health experts. Okay, they're not driven by politicians. They're not driven, by somebody that doesn't know this stuff. They are driven by experts, and even the experts don't know all the answers to this particular
Developments every day. I mean,
absolutely, to this disaster. They don't. But those are the people we should be relying on. What I think it's going to look like. I think ultimately, whatever that date is, what could happen? And here are the scenarios. The governor could say, hey, I'm going to extend it to May 15th, and it's pretty much the way it is now. Okay, for 2 more weeks. Or he could say, I'm going to do that to May 26th, and it's the way it is now. He could also say, okay, I'm going to do it, but I'm going to ease up on a couple things. I'm going to say that people can, use sports courts now, which we don't, under the current order, all the sports courts. So your tennis courts, your basketball courts can't use them. And why? Because you're touching a ball, and
right.
It's going back and forth, and that's why. But the nicer weather's coming. People do, for their own physical, mental health, need to be outside. So you could see some easing up, right? I mean, I'm just using that as one little example, but I couldn't tell you when that comes. I think whatever it is, it will be a phased, rolled out approach. I can tell you from the city's perspective, we have a team of people now working on trying to develop and then implement when the time comes, a recovery plan here in Evanston for how we all get back to work and activities that we did before. But again, it's going to be different. There's going to be a new normal that is going to be set. Playgrounds are a good example. We know schools are closed for the rest of the year. I know there's lots of people with young children in Evanston, and my kids aren't that old. My youngest is 12, and I remember very vividly like how valuable the playgrounds are, right? And little kids don't understand, why can't I go to the playground? Why is it wrapped with caution tape? And so I know that's something that they want to see. People, young families certainly would like to see that lifted, so the kids at least have an outdoor activity. So we'll see, but I think it definitely will be a phased approach.
Well, it's it is a new reality. None of us have ever experienced this ever in our lifetime. So it's been very interesting to say the least, and just trying to survive it. And we don't even know what that looks like. It's just so, I can't believe we're here. I just can't believe we're here. We're walking around with masks and shields, and it's insane. And then for Georgia, what are your thoughts on Georgia? I know you have to get going. What are your thoughts on Georgia opening right now? It's crazy.
Honestly, my head is so into what's going on around here. I haven't really followed all, I see a little of the national news, but I don't follow all the state by state stuff that's going on. So I haven't followed Georgia super close. I will just tell you that I hope the decisions that states make, and again, I feel confident that Illinois is going to make this, and the surrounding states are going to make this. Again, are fact-based, data-driven decisions. Public health experts and epidemiologists who study the pace of viruses and how they grow and what we can anticipate. Because lots of people out there, you're starting to see articles about the hammer and the dance. So the hammer and dance method is that you lock down like we're doing now. That's the hammer. And then the question becomes, as we loosen things up, that becomes like a dance, okay? And we're trying to dance this in a very careful, precise way so that we don't have an explosion of the virus, which overruns our healthcare system. And they have to get back into crisis care instead of standard care. And we then find ourselves back to the hammer. And they lock everything down. And there's some experts that say that could happen. There was an article today, and I didn't read the whole thing, but it was about Italy, and it was a town in Italy where they had plateaued. And you'll notice also that they're using the term plateau more than peak these days, because they don't want to give the misimpression that when you reach the peak, you'll only go down, right? Because that's what you think. You go on a hike, hike the mountain, reach the peak. There's no place else to go. I'm going to go down. That's not the case with, this virus. You could reach the peak and then you're going to plateau for a while. And so it's been interesting in Illinois because they talked about the peak being, it's going to be here in April. We already passed the peak. And now there's a new, study out there that's saying, no, the peak is more like May 9th, May 10th is the peak. So I think, we're trying to move away from that and just say, hey, it's about, we're going to reach this peak and then we're going to plateau for a while. And, we just don't know how long that's going to be. Ultimately, we want to start to see the numbers go down. If you look at the New York numbers graphed out, you start to see how they're coming down a little. But again, we shouldn't think that, oh, it's coming down. Okay, it's great. Just think about the stock market. You never know. Has that stock reached its peak? Oh, it just went down. Great, I should buy now. Oh, but is it going to go down further? Well, the same question, is it going to go up further? And they don't know. They don't know. So the exercise that we're all in, which is anxiety driven because we don't know how long we're going to be here doing this and how long it's going to take to develop a vaccine, how long it's then going to take to implement the vaccine. The most at-risk individuals would receive it first, presumably, but it would take some time to get that out and to develop, enough people with antibodies against it.
And one last question.
Sure.
Just my gut feeling, I don't see us coming out of this quarantine for maybe end of summer. Just be comfortable, and even then, we're not going to be all that comfortable going back to a normal life. In your opinion, how long do you think Evanston, like say Governor Pritzker doesn't lift the quarantine till end of August, how do you think Evanston economy will survive? Because I know a lot of businesses are suffering right now in Evanston, people out of work, losing their business.
Yeah.
What do you think?
So couple things. I don't think we're going to, just me personally, based on all the meetings that I'm in and everything else, I don't think we're going to be quarantined as we are now through the end of the summer. I think we could be up till the beginning of summer, which means pretty much the whole spring. But I don't think throughout the summer. And the other thing that could take place, and I didn't mention this earlier, is again the governor and his team could look at the data and basically say, okay, we're going to break the state of Illinois into different geographic areas, and allow for certain, keep certain restrictions in some places, but lift them in others. So let's say that he did that. I mean, the reality is we are so connected to the city of Chicago. We're a very pretty urban city, right? There's a fair amount of density here in Evanston that you don't find in Wilmette or Winnetka or Glenview. And so we'd have to then really look closely at, okay, what is our neighbor to the south doing? Because we're probably most comparable to them than we are to more the suburbs to the north of us. Mayor Lightfoot's been great as well. I mentioned all those conference calls. I'm on a conference call twice a week with the governor's office and all these other mayors and legislators. Mayor Lightfoot does the same thing for all the suburban areas and has her team on, so we get the benefit of their expertise. President Preckwinkle does the same with Cook County. So again, a lot of experts working on this. In terms of the businesses, let's end with this. So I did just get off a call. This time there were only 800 people on the call, and this was a federal government call that run by the White House. It's the Intergovernmental Affairs Office of the White House, and then they have experts from the CDC, Health and Human Services, the Treasury Department spend time with us. So I just want your viewers to know lots of people, and this is for the businesses in particular, because you asked about what happens to the businesses. There was the Paycheck Protection Program grant. I say grant, it was a loan, but it could be converted into a forgivable loan that was for $349 billion, huge amount of money. They gave out $1.6 million loans, and it was oversubscribed. And so a bill was just passed by the Senate. It needs to now go to the House, and we'll see how that all goes. That would put another $321 billion into that program alone. And that, again, is directed specifically at small businesses. We're trying, the federal government, everybody, we're trying to prop up to the extent that we can these small businesses so they can just hang on. Because to your point, if we're quarantined for 6 more months, my God, some of these businesses will never come back. And even we'll see that even with some large businesses here in Evanston, I think, who I'm thinking large retail kind of businesses who were on the cusp and trying to figure out, am I going to come back? Am I not going to come back? Prior to COVID-19, and then with COVID-19 shutting it down, I think it makes their decision easier to say, you know what, we're no longer going to reopen in that location, or we're going to downsize overall our company. We saw that just with Andy's frozen custard, which was very popular. A lot of people here, including lots of teens in Evanston. I heard from my own upset about that closure. But I think you're going to see that. That's why having a recovery plan is going to be really important. And to get back to the point I made at the very beginning, the social fabric of this community and all of us pitching in is going to be critically important. We need a whole community response, which we're getting, and a whole community recovery to bring us back. It won't be easy, but we'll get there. We'll get there. This too shall pass.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Mayor Hagerty. And it's good to have a mayor who's experienced with disasters and emergencies like this. So thank you for your time today and the information and getting on those calls. I mean, I would imagine that they're intense, but they just sound very informative, and it's comforting to know that there's a plan and that you all are working on recovery. And again, I'm happy that I'm living in Evanston and not in LA somewhere where I don't think I would have that community looking out for families, for myself, but Evanston, we've really been coming together. So
we have been, and I've just said one other thing. We are blessed to have world-class healthcare in Evanston. We really are. Both our hospitals, Amita St. Francis and North Shore University Health System, outstanding job. I get a regular report from both of the hospitals. I'm on the phone with the presidents pretty regularly, and it's one of the reasons why I think we're in better shape than a lot of communities in other urban areas are one of the reasons is because of our world-class healthcare.
And I want to say this about North Shore. I did go get tested. I had to go to ER. I have asthma. I had shortness of breath. I had the chest pains, and they took me, and they took care of me, and they were just angels. I mean, they could have sent me away like, you're fine, but they did test me, and thank God I was negative. But they were angels, absolute angels. So definitely want to give a shout out to North Shore Hospital, and they're like right up the street from me. So again, I mean, Evanston is the place to be if you're going to go through anything like this, because the community will look out for you. So thank you
Indeed.
very much, Mayor Hagerty.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be with you, Meleika.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Be safe.
You too.
All right. Okay, you all, this has been Meleika, Evanston Live TV, and that was our mayor, Mayor Hagerty. It's beautiful that we have leadership that's experienced with dealing with things like this. So, a lot of insight, a lot of input, and yeah, and I will say it again and again. I've lived in Atlanta, Georgia. I've lived in LA. I've lived in New Orleans. And let me tell you, those are beautiful cities. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think I would feel as comfortable being in this sort of situation, being in a pandemic in those cities, as I do feeling like I've got a community here in Evanston. So Evanston, we're in a good place. We're in a good place. As long as we're following the guidelines, I think we will survive this. So again, you all, as I've been ending every Zoom interview on Evanston Live TV, keep your hands clean, wash, keep that distance, that's 6 feet. Wear your mask, people. Wear shield, mask, wear it whenever you leave the house. Put it on. I don't care if you have to make one. Put on your masks. And now we know also from Captain Bilal, take your shoes off at the front door. Do not track the COVID-19 into your home, onto your floors, especially if you walk barefoot around your house. Definitely do that. And, just be very conscious and aware of what's going on. I know watching Trump can be traumatic and consuming, but you definitely want to keep some tabs on the decisions that are being made, because let me tell you, he is making some moves. And the fact that Georgia is opening up is very disturbing. And I'm glad we have the governor that we have, J.B. Pritzker, who is showing that he's about the people and caring about lives more than money. So I think we're in a good place. And so let's just continue to follow those guidelines. Stay home. Don't leave the house unless you absolutely have to. And I want to give a big thank you to all the volunteers out there who have been delivering food, working with Jennifer's Edibles and C&W Market, and all the other restaurants who have started feeding the community as well. Thank you to the drivers and the people packing the groceries, doing the grocery shopping for families and our seniors. Thank you so much, because you are just getting out there, really, just risking your life to help others. So that has been the beauty in Evanston, is that people have stepped outside of themselves to help those who are in need. And just continue to be safe as you are volunteering out there. And we thank you for the angels that you are. And all right, Evanston, let's stick to those guidelines and stay well, and check on your neighbors, call them, send them a message, text message, holler at them 6 feet away from their door, just to make sure, everybody's all right. And I'm loving Evanston. I'm so grateful that I'm here during this time period, definitely. So you all have a great day, and be safe.